Hey, what's up everybody? It is Chris, and today I wanted to share with you a few of my personal favorites from my very diverse stack, as well as a few different stories that I found interesting and that I've been thinking about lately. So, if you're wondering, no, none of my favorites are actually laid out in front of you, but before I actually get to the favorites, what I wanted to show you is that things like these guys, so these guys are one of the quote-unquote higher premium items that I have, and you see these kind of things in a lot of people's stacks, especially those who are more of the collector types. It's so funny, in one of the comments recently, someone, I believe it was Strange AZZ, called himself a stack collector, and I thought that was pretty novel. That's actually very true. As I mentioned before, most people start as a stacker. They want to get those eagles. They want to get, the 10-ounce bar. And then you start collecting things like this, or at least adding them to your stack. You may not be a collector in that you need to have the whole series. But, having things like this definitely does bring the joy aspect to your stack. And so as you end up purchasing things like this, for example, this guy, when I bought it, everyone knows Engelhard, right? But I had no idea, where it fit in the grand scheme of things, if it was rare, if it's not rare. And actually, to be honest, I wasn't even really interested in that. It's just I knew I wanted something Engelhard. And so I ended up making the purchase, not really paying too much attention to it. I knew I could go research it if I wanted to, but never really got into it. I was watching a video by Silverstruck with his impressive collection of Engelhard bars, and realized that, yeah, mine's pretty much run-of-the-mill. But even with that said, still, again, every little thing brings me joy. So a lot of you ask me, why do you do videos outside? Well, mainly because I like to get out of the house. Unfortunately, my career has me in the office much of the day. So any opportunity that I get to get outside. Actually, I also like to look at metals in the natural sunlight. I feel like there's definitely something to that. The luster, the shine that you see from the metals, you kind of see it much better in the natural light than you do, anywhere else. But that being said, let me show you one of my first favorites. So this one's actually representative of an entire line of coins. And these are the reverse proof maples. These guys, so with the maples in general, I have a pretty high opinion of the Royal Canadian Mint. As you know, I think even the regular maples are gorgeous. But the reverse proof and the privy maples are just like on a whole other level. They're that perfect blend of a bullion coin, also with a collectability factor. And they're really nice. Like, I can't emphasize enough how well they made these coins. They're just gorgeous to look at. So this would be definitely one of my favorites in my own personal stack. Now, the next one is something that you'll see pretty commonly, but I've noticed that a lot of people, kind of don't pull the trigger on them because they get a lot of hype. And that would be the Libertad. The Libertads, the reason that I like these so much is because it is a bullion coin. This is something that you can still apparently get at the bank in Mexico. Imagine you could walk into a bank here and get some eagles. That'd be pretty cool. I think it would make me want eagles even more if I could do that. But it's cool to see so much detail in the design. There's so much on there. And I know a few of you have mentioned that the previous iteration of the Libertad is actually pretty nice. So I still haven't seen what that looks like, but I'm interested because I like this whole design. I like the intricacy of each of those little crests. I think that's really cool. And I think, if you're going to put your money into something, you might as well have something that looks cool at the same time. And these guys apparently have, a lot of interest, which is funny because pre-pandemic, I had never really heard of them. I had kind of heard of them, but not, where I would see them anywhere with any regularity. So definitely something that that piques my interest. But the story that I wanted to share is actually something that that happened to me earlier this summer. I was actually on the East Coast, so as some of you saw, I was actually in Boston a few times this summer, and one of the times I was staying pretty close to Boston Commons in one of the hotels nearby. And if you're not from the area, like it's, you know, like most cities, it's not the easiest place to park, that kind of thing. And the hotel said that parking was included. So I was like, okay, which it wasn't cheap. It was something like $40 a night or something like that. So, you know, I stayed there, I think, 3 nights at this particular hotel. And when I arrived, they told me, you know, I asked, you know, is there a parking structure or where do I park? And they're like, just go ahead and valet. They're like, yeah, you'll be fine. They're like, that's, you know, that's included. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, what kind of hotel do you go to where the valet is included in your hotel stay? Usually, I mean, obviously you have to tip and stuff, but, you know, usually there's an added fee for that. I'm more of the self-parking person. I don't really need somebody to park my car for the most part. But at checkout, you know, and this is actually a pretty nice hotel. I mean, decently nice. It's an older hotel. I think it's called the Plaza Hotel in downtown. But you know, had a decent stay. The room was kind of small, but I mean, that's normal, I guess, for like the older hotels. But everything was really nice there. So when it came to check out, I go to check out and I noticed that on the bill, they charged me, I think, $50 a day for valet. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, you guys said that this was included. And they were like, no. They're like, who told you that? And by chance, the guy who told me that was working. And I was like, you know, let me preface this with, I've worked plenty of time in customer service. I know what it is to have to deal with people who are just crying or, you know, putting up some BS just to get a refund or be cheap about things. And I also fully understand that, you know, with customer service, with anything to do with that kind of stuff, like, I always try to be very respectful and understanding, because these are people who work for whatever this business is. They don't own the joint, they don't make the rules. So, like, I'm fully aware of that. But, I mean, an extra $200 on top of, you know, everything, that's real money. So I was like, you know, wait, you know, I understand it could have been a miscommunication, but like, this was kind of on you guys at this point. So anyway, like, we're sitting there talking about it, and I'm like, well, okay, like, you know, is there anything you could do about it? Can you, you know, put a discount like on the room, or, because that's a pretty healthy fee that you're charging me. It's basically like another night in your hotel. And so when I was talking to them, you know, there's a guy at the next desk over, another customer waiting, and he was being pretty patient about it, you know, and I felt bad too, because like, I don't like to be that guy. And I wasn't trying to make a scene or anything, but I was trying to explain to them, look, like, you know, again, this is something on you guys. You know, at least try to meet the customer halfway. I mean, even if I had to pay like half, okay, like, you know, lesson learned. Like, next time I'll really, really emphasize, like, you know, where I want my money to go. But anyway, like, the hotel was just like, you know, there's nothing we could do about it. The valet is actually a third party, so we can't help you with that. And I was like, wait, what? So anyway, after just like kind of going back and forth, and again, not in a raised voice, not in anything like disrespectful, I'm like, can I talk to the manager? They're like, yeah. Manager kind of had an attitude too. It was just kind of like, well, there's nothing we could do. And I was like, okay. So anyway, at that point, I had kind of given up. I was like, okay, like, it is what it is. Like I said, like, lesson learned, right? Well, and this is one of my favorites, by the way, the Inkus Maple. As you can see, it looks very much like a regular maple, but if you really look, it's etched into the coin, which is not normal. Normally, the leaf comes out of the coin versus being etched in. So this one's definitely one of my favorites. Simple coin, but one of my favorites. So anyway, at that point, the gentleman that was standing next to me like before I even knew what was happening, threw $220 on the counter, and he's like, here you go. He's like, don't worry about that. He's like, that's not your fault. He's like, I heard the story, don't worry about it. And he walked away. Like, before I could do anything, I was kind of like in shock. Like, wait, what? Like, no, like, I don't want to take someone else's money, but I didn't even know what to do. And they just pretty much grabbed it and paid, like, and took it as payment for the parking. So anyway, this dude like ran out the door as soon as he did it. And I was like, I had all my luggage and stuff, and I was like, okay, do I chase this guy down and like give him his money back? Like, money for me is not the issue. And it wasn't the issue. Like, I'm fortunate enough to have money to pay for things like that. It was more the principle of the matter, because like, you go somewhere and, if they tell you to do something, and I did question him the first time, the guy at the counter, I questioned him, like, are you sure? Like, valet? He's like, yeah. He's like, park it there. Don't worry about it. He's like, we'll take care of it. Okay. So like, when he was working at that day, and I said, they're like, who told you that? And I pointed to him, and he's like, oh no, that was some kind of miscommunication. He's like, maybe you didn't understand what I was saying. And I was like, okay, I could kind of see that, except I asked you to be sure. I clarified this with you. And he just didn't want to accept responsibility. And again, I understand, people work there. It's his job, and I don't want to get him in trouble, but anyway. So this dude just threw the money down on the counter and took off. And that's a lot of money. For someone to just throw down $200 of their own money and just like it was nothing and just walk away, no expectation. That's a pretty classy move, to be honest. And luckily, I did see him outside, and I wasn't sure. Like, I was trying to think to myself, if someone does that for you, like, do you want to throw that money back at them? Like, no, I don't need your money. Like, it's okay, thank you, but, I don't need it. Or do you want to accept that gracious, gesture? So in the end, I thought, what? This guy clearly like wasn't hurting by any stretch. He was getting into like a limo, like one of the Cadillac limos. And so like he wasn't hurting by any means, but I did catch him outside, and I did tell him like, hey, like, thank you so much. That was like such a meaningful and classy move. Like, I do appreciate it. I want you to know, like, thank you. Like, this really made my day, and, I really appreciate it. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, that wasn't your fault. I was listening to everything they said. He's like, that could have happened to anybody. He's like, I want, you being in our city, I want you to have a good trip and like enjoy yourself. And I was just like, okay, this guy's gonna make me cry. It was that moving for something like that. And like I said, it wasn't even the money. It was just the fact that someone would go out of their way to help somebody else. You know what I mean? He had no idea who I was, and I was wearing stuff to leave the hotel, so I probably looked like like I didn't have very much money, or that it may have been, an issue for me. But the fact that someone stepped up and did that for me, like, those kind of things, they don't happen too often, but I always do think of them. And like, when I see other people going through situations like that, I've always tried to act that way within my life, never giving somebody $200 or anything like that. But, if they need money or things like that, like, it means nothing to me. The money means nothing to me, because at the end of the day, I know that I'll work and get it back. You know what I mean? If someone else is in more trouble than me, it doesn't hurt me in any way. So I thought that was really interesting. I'd like to thank the city of Boston and your very kind people for leaving an impression on me that, there's still good people out there, and those kind of things, paying it forward to other people, is very important. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my story and some of my favorite coins. Take care.